Hi everyone, I'm Wendy and this is Show Me Mo Vegan, where I make easy, whole food vegan meals. And today I'm showing you my lentil patties. Now, this is an easy recipe like all of my recipes, but there are a few extra steps than usual. So this isn't something that I would make, say, on a weeknight when I want a really quick meal, but rather this is something that I make when I have a little extra time. I'll make a big batch and put them in the freezer, so then I always have lentil patties on hand whenever I do need a really fast meal. This recipe works best with lentils that have already been cooked and chilled. I often batch cook lentils and keep them in the fridge, so I recommend making these patties when you already have leftover lentils to use. You can also use canned lentils if you're in a rush. But today I'm going to show you everything from start to finish. So let's start with our lentils. You can cook them however you like, and I'm showing you one of my favorite methods in the Instant Pot. Here I have 2 cups of dried lentils that I've rinsed, and I'm putting that in my Instant Pot with some water. I don't worry about measuring the water perfectly. I probably have between about 5 and 6 cups of water for the 2 cups of lentils, but I'll just drain off any extra so that way it's really easy. In the Instant Pot, I cook them for 5 minutes at high pressure. Meanwhile, I'll prep my veggies. I'm using onions, mushrooms, and carrots. I'm just chopping 1 onion here, and then I'm using about a cup's worth of carrots, and these are some carrots I had chopped up and frozen a long time ago that I needed to use up, so you can use frozen or you can use fresh. And I'm measuring out my mushrooms here just to make sure that my recipe is correct. This was an 8-ounce package of baby portobello mushrooms, and that ends up being about 3 cups of mushrooms chopped. So I have a heaping 1/2 cup of rolled oats. Those are going right in the food processor, and you'll just blend that until you get a coarse flour. And then in the same food processor, I'm going to grind up some walnuts. I'm using about 3/4 of a cup of walnuts. If you're nut-free, you could also substitute something like sunflower seeds, but if you're avoiding nuts and seeds altogether for any reason, you can omit the walnuts altogether. You might want to add a little bit more lentils to your mixture just to make sure your patties still come out about the same volume. I'm just pulsing the walnuts a couple of times, and I'll leave those in the food processor for now. Normally, I water saute my veggies, but in this instance, I wanted to impart a little bit more flavor into my veggies. This step is totally optional, so if you're salt-free, you can omit this completely, but I'm using about a teaspoon of Bragg liquid aminos. You could also do soy sauce or tamari or even coconut aminos. And then we'll add the veggies, and as you saute them, the veggies will release a lot of liquid, so they shouldn't really stick, but if they do start to stick, you can always add little bits of water. Normally, if I'm not using something like the liquid aminos, I will just put them into a dry pan to start and then add water as needed to prevent sticking. So we'll let those veggies saute at medium-high for about 10 minutes until everything starts to soften. Checking back on those veggies, they look like they're about done. And we'll turn that off and let those cool for a little bit. By this time, your lentils should be done, especially if you're doing it in the Instant Pot. So we're about ready to assemble everything. Next, I'm taking the sauteed veggies and adding them to the food processor with the walnuts. And this is optional. You can use either fresh or dried parsley. If you're using fresh parsley, go ahead and add it now to the food processor, so the food processor will chop that up for you. If you don't have any fresh parsley, no worries, we can add some dried later when we add the rest of our spices. So I have my mixing bowl with the oat flour that I made earlier, and to that I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. This is going to act as a binder and help the patties stick together. Next, I have all of my spices measured out. I'll put a link in the description box below with all of the amounts, but I make it really easy, just a teaspoon of each. I'm using turmeric, smoked paprika, cumin, granulated onion and garlic, and then just about a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper or as much as you like to taste. We'll also have a bit of a salty taste from using the aminos earlier with our veggie mixture. But as I said, if you're salt-free and you need to omit that, you might just add a teaspoon or 2 of your favorite salt alternative. Something like Mrs. Dash or any all-purpose seasoning that you like. Also, if you didn't have any fresh parsley, this is where you could add some dried parsley. I'd probably only do about a teaspoon. So now we have our oat flour, spices, and our flaxseed. I'll stir that up just to get everything evenly distributed. Then we have that beautiful veggie mixture, which, by the way, smells so good. So I'll add that in, or dump it out on the side of the bowl, you know. It's all good. And then we have the lentils that I cooked in the Instant Pot. As you can see, there's a little extra liquid in there. I'll drain the excess liquid and then measure out 4 cups of the cooked lentils. Or again, you could use canned. And then we'll mix everything together. As I mentioned earlier, this works best with lentils that are cooked and already cooled. They hold together better that way. The mixture will be pretty sticky, and if you use freshly cooked lentils like I did, the mixture will be extra sticky. If it seems too wet, you can always add some more oat flour, or as you see here, I just added some rolled oats. Once everything's mixed together, you'll want to let this chill in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. This step is especially important if you're using fresh lentils. It gives the oats and flaxseed time to absorb extra liquid and ultimately makes your patties stay together better. I was being really impatient and I didn't let the mixture completely chill. As you can see, that resulted in a very messy situation. But this recipe is really forgiving, and again, at this point, if you need to, you can add more oats. You may also have to bake the patties a little longer, but it's no biggie either way. It'll work out in the end. I usually end up with somewhere around 20 patties. Today I got 23. I like to make pretty small patties, but you can make them whatever size you like. The smaller patties definitely hold together better, so if you make them too large, they might fall apart, but they'll still taste great, whatever size you make them. My oven is preheated to 375, and I'll put these in for 20 minutes, and then we'll check if they're ready to flip. The patties are pretty delicate, so you'll want to be careful while flipping. After that, we'll bake them for another approximately 20 minutes until they are done to your liking. Lentil patties are out of the oven and they've been cooling for a little bit. They ended up cooking for 25 minutes on the first side and about 20 minutes on the second side. And despite the fact that my mixture this time was extra sticky, they ended up sticking together really well. As you can see, they hold together without falling apart. As I mentioned before, you do have to be careful flipping them though, because this is what will happen. This one got a little mangled. But I always say it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it tastes good, and my grandpa used to always say it's all going to the same place anyway. So let's go ahead and give it a taste. I really love the flavor of these lentil patties, and you can eat them however you like. I personally like to eat them in a pita pocket, and you can add whatever condiments you like, maybe some ketchup or mustard or barbecue sauce, maybe a few pickles. Sometimes I even like to just break up the lentil patties on top of a salad, and then for my dressing, I make a mixture of mustard and ketchup, and sometimes I'll even throw a little bit of pickle juice in there. And it's really great with some baked sweet potato fries. Whenever I make these, I like to freeze them, then I always have a quick meal ready to go. Before you go, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more whole food vegan recipes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.